Hello and welcome to another episode of Gully to Gully. Another episode, but the same old rant continues about the shortcomings of Pakistan cricket. We'll obviously cover the warm-up try series, of course, that 350 run chase by Pakistan, but still the the ultimate pessimists that we are, we've probably the negative sides of Pakistan of the current team have been exposed even more. And as part of that, obviously, we'll cover the Champions Trophy preview, not just from a Pakistan perspective, but from a wider perspective, and who we feel are the favorite or the favorite, and some of the key things to look for. But Moin, only one place to start, another series defeat. And it's really weird. I mean, how dominant New Zealand of all teams have been against Pakistan in Pakistan.
I know New Zealand are one of those teams that always go to every tournament as a dark horse, and they do really well in those tournaments. But in those tournaments where they go in as favorites, and I think there are a couple that they have gone in as front runners. I remember in the 2016 World T20 in India, it was just after the 2015 ODI World Cup where New Zealand just, were brilliant, got to the finals. But I think they went out in the semis, if I remember correctly, in the 20s. So it's one of those double-edged swords, right? There's some teams that do well with the favorite stag. There's some who don't. I can't say New Zealand won't do well because of their favorite stag, because it's quite rare that they've got it. And some may argue they still haven't got it, but they do look very good, right? It's not the usual New Zealand going under the radar. Now they're very much on the radar, and I've sort of maintained that, when it comes to ODI cricket in particular, you'll find that it's not about the 360-degree shots that you're able to play that dominates a T20 game, or it's not about sort of the unbelievable skill with the ball to be able to get 20 wickets as in a test match. The ODI format is about teams that just get basics right, that just cover all their bases, are well-rounded teams. They can get wickets, they can contain runs, and they can chase, they can defend, they can bat long if they need to, they can score quickly if they need to. It's about covering all bases. That's why, in my opinion, and I know I'm a nostalgic 90s kid here, I find this the best format. I know I'm in a severe minority. Obviously, Test cricket has its own charm to it. I'm not doubting that. But we grew up watching ODI cricket, right, Zaid? I mean, it was long enough for teams to make a comeback in the game. If they had a really poor first 10, 20 overs, they could still come back in the game. It was still long enough to be able to test a range of skills while still short enough to be entertaining. And for me, it's sort of closer, I'd say, in some ways to a test match, and in there lies all the test of skills that a T20 doesn't have. So that's why New Zealand, for me, are a strong team. I think they've shown it again. Mitch Santner was terrific. Personally, my man of the match, if I had to choose in the final, I mean, the way he bowls, there's nothing complicated about it, right? It's simple, left arm, doesn't spin the ball that much, but he's just so accurate. He gets everything right. And for me, I know he's the captain, but he is the best sort of symbol or example or microcosm of New Zealand, right? Under the radar, no one talks about him. He doesn't care, but he still is mighty successful. So for me, I think New Zealand are looking really strong. I think we can just say very briefly, because we've said a lot about Pakistan in the last video, great chase against South Africa, but you can't help but think that game was won by two players, maybe two and a half, maybe a bit of Fakhar and Babar, but mainly two players, right? It was Salman and Rizwan. But as a team, Pakistan clearly do not have all bases covered. Their spin department is lacking. Even their pace is worryingly lacking. They're really missing Haris Rauf. Hopefully he comes back. And look, the batting is well documented, right? I mean, I think it's a bit makeshift at the moment.
Yeah, I think I agree with all those points. I think New Zealand, I'd like to say, it's really surprising how the New Zealand spinners have been dominating. Obviously, they did in India, and now they're doing it. So it's not something that you'd have ever thought about New Zealand, but they're doing it. So well done to them. And look, I mean, Pakistan, yeah, we've discussed at length what the issues are. Relying on individual brilliance. If Akhazban gets you off to a good start, then you've got half a chance of doing something. If you're chasing something, a target, then you're sort of in the game. If you're setting a target like what they were doing in the final, absolutely clueless, don't know what to do, whether to stick or twist. So I think there are just too many issues. Like you say, the pace bowling is undercooked. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that they were kind of not giving it their all to save themselves for the Champions Trophy, but somehow that's not easy to believe. But that's the only thing that I can think of. I mean, Shine was bowling quick in patches, but still nowhere near good enough. Babar Azam, yeah, I mean, we've talked about him a lot. Um, so not, I mean, the other thing to say on the whole series was like South Africa. Yes, it was a good chase, but still, that was like South Africa's B team. I mean, you got smashed for 350 against South Africa's B team. I mean, there's still no Markram, and a couple of other. Rickleton, Mr. 260. Rickleton wasn't playing. Um, so there is a couple of players. There are a couple of players. I think Miller as well is in the squad for Champions Trophy, so he might come back in as well. So there were quite a few players that were not there, right? And then their bowling attack was also slightly weakened. No Rabada, no Janssen. So yeah, so as good as that
I think the
350
only good
was,
thing is I think the spin department was
yeah,
complete from South Africa. So we
yeah.
played
But then
spin.
again, in Karachi, dew and everything, I think that pay, and yeah, look, I mean, from Pakistan's point of view, their bowling has not been any good as well, and that's probably the most worrying thing. Is in all three ODIs, the bowling was pretty woeful. So, the same old
Um,
issues.
I
Yeah.
think since 2022, I think it's become quite common for Pakistan to concede 300 plus in Pakistan, which tells you that our bowlers just don't do well at home. And it's not about home or away. It's just we didn't even do well in India in the ODI World Cup, right? After giving ourselves the favorites tag in that World Cup, you know, we didn't, and we blamed it on Naseem Shah, but really it was a lot deeper than that. I just think we're a team that relies a lot on conditions and on the surface assisting us and on getting swing, seam, etc. And that's a massive contrast to why Pakistan have been such a dominant bowling side in the days gone by. Wasim and Wakar, even after that, Shoaib Akhtar, I mean, I mean, you can even get more recent than that, but mainly in that era, even if the pitch was the most lifeless road on Zamzama you could ever imagine, it did not matter, right? I mean, you had unbelievable skill. You took the pitch out of the equation, Yorkers, slow balls, bouncers, everything you name it. We don't. I mean, this current crop of fast bowlers, I'd say they're good on a good day. Okay, they sometimes can't make things happen, right? Now, when I just mentioned that about, oh, it can get more recent after Shoaib Akhtar and for a brief period Amir and Asif. Since then, our fast bowling has declined. We didn't notice it because our spinners then led the charge, right? We had the likes of Saeed Ajmal and then the all-rounders, right? The all-rounders and Shahid Afridi, Muhammad Hafiz, Shoaib Malik to an extent. So we had a lot of, and then Yasir Shah obviously in the test circuit, but we had lots of these all-rounders and like we didn't sort of miss that fast bowling pedigree. And now suddenly, when the spin has dried up, it's just we have. I remember in 2022, a series we won against Australia, we conceded 300 in two of the three games, and even the third game, it was just because we had. I think Australia were a bit weakened in the third game, and therefore we ended up winning and restricting them. Right then, I can take you to New Zealand when New Zealand came to Pakistan for an ODI series in 23. We were conceding 300 quite regularly there. So, I mean, for me, it's a worry, right? We cannot contain, right? And I,
And not
I
against their
saw,
strongest 11 as well, right?
yeah, yeah, for sure. But you even say that, like we talk about New Zealand. I mean, they were missing Rachin Ravindra. It's, I mean, yes, it
Yeah,
was near full strength, but I think there were one or two, missing names there, especially in the final,
yeah,
right? So look, there's lots of worry for me, and it's mostly the bowling because the bowling has traditionally won you games, but it doesn't look like
yeah,
it is at the moment. Naseem Shah will bowl 5 good overs, and then, but he won't pick up a wicket, and then and then nobody else will
yeah,
support him, and I mean, I think we've labored the point enough. For me, the batting is still like, I think we're making it worse than it actually is. It's one of those things where even as settled as Pakistan have ever looked, having won 3 away series, we still find a way to come into every tournament looking underprepared. As if we're searching for our 11 and then we find our best 11 when we're either out of the tournament or we'll be in a must-win game. Now, this luckily is a shorter tournament. Usually, it'll be like 5 games in, and we're just about finding our best 11. For some reason, we always like to enter tournaments without knowing what our best 11 is. And why Kushtil Shah is there? Please tell me. I mean, he can't bat, he can't bowl, he can. It's just mind-boggling. Why have a sixth
celebration.
bowler when you have Salman Agha, who actually is your best spinner? I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. Abrar
Yeah,
Ahmed, like, I mean, he's hit and miss. Salman's your best spinner. So just like, why have a bits and pieces cricketer when you do have Kamran Ghulam, who, in fairness to you, did really well in the role that he was given lower down the order, right? Lower middle order. One
yeah,
failing against New Zealand, that too at number 3, you changed his role and you drop him, right? I mean, I
yeah,
personally think Kamran Ghulam is 5 or 6, whatever. Salman Agha is the other one, and then 7 can be Tayyab Tahir. So what if you don't have a
yeah.
sixth bowler? It's not like Kushtil Shah is doing anything for you.
Yeah, Khushal Shah is not a proper all-rounder bowler anyway, right? So it's not. Yeah, I don't really see. I mean, you might as well have got Shadab Khan back in at least,
Yeah,
Um,
without Shakil, I promise you, I remember that he used to bowl and he was pretty decent. What happened? I don't understand.
yeah,
He could bowl two, three
yeah,
overs if you need someone.
yeah. And I mean, so Chidi as well, right? So you're meant to be your spin specialist, and you're sending him at three. It doesn't
Three.
really make sense. Like, I don't get
And
it.
yeah.
It goes back to
I mean,
it goes
you
back
and
to
I
the
both
old
want one.
old. Yeah, it's the same thing, right? Rizwan to open and
Babar 3, Saud Shakil
Babar
4,
three.
right? But it's not going to happen. Unfortunately, I mean,
Now, especially after
fortunately or
that,
unfortunately,
yeah,
yeah, it's not going to happen. I mean, I hope maybe if Rizwan realizes it, but I just don't. I just don't think he wants to open. And as a captain, he does have a say in that, right? I think after his keeping for 50 overs, it's quite tough. But people do it. Like Gilchrist did
yeah,
it. If Rizwan opens, Babar 3, Saud Shakil 4, Ghulam 5, or Salman Agha 6, whichever way that is, and then 7th It just feels a lot more
yeah,
grounded, right? Babar opening, it's a bit like, wait, what? But
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we've had McCallum used to do it. Quentin de Kock, probably one of the best in modern times,
yeah,
statistically as
incredible,
well.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, anyway, it's not going to happen. No point in complaining. I think they seem pretty set now in their ways.
Exactly.
It is what it is. But anyways, so let's move on to the broader story of the Champions Trophy. We've kind of given our preview of Pakistan and hinted that there's probably not much hope. So maybe we go from probably the expectedly most disappointing team to the stronger teams. New Zealand, obviously, and the third team in the group, India, coming off a very strong performance against England. I think I don't. Obviously, Bumrah is a big loss, but if they play in the UAE and especially if they're chasing with the spinners that they have, I think they've got a pretty good chance as long as they don't have to bowl under lights and they do. I think they're pretty well set, especially given how strong their batting is, and they're just looking to blow teams out of out by smashing it.
Yeah. So speaking to the local expert here, Zahid, is there dew in Dubai?
Yes, there is. There maybe
There is.
not at this time of the year. Yeah,
And not as much because I remember like there wasn't that much difference between batting first ball and batting second when I looked up the stats in Dubai, but I could be wrong. Look,
But remember the
ultimately, I
T20
think
World Cup in 20, yeah, the 21 World Cup.
yeah, that was
That was
insane.
the
But let's be honest, that was all under lights mostly. But yes, you're right. But I think that was more about the function of the format, and then everyone realized, oh my god, chasing
yeah.
such a big advantage, and that was actually proven not to be the case in subsequent T20 World Cups. But you're right. Um,
Yeah.
Look, if you asked any Indian who is the one player you did not want missing out, I think it'd be Bumrah. I think Bumrah is a bigger loss than Kohli and a bigger loss than if Rohit Sharma could play. Right, individually, if you Bumrah's value to that team is equal to probably the sum of Rohit and Virat Kohli, and I'm not saying in terms of star power, just the role in the team. India have a phenomenal batting lineup. They always have, and they've got really strong replacements. Even if, let's say, Virat or Rohit did get injured, right? They've got Jaiswal. You've got, I know not all of them are in the squad, but I'm just saying that in the past they've had, and in their wider bench of players, they've got like the likes of Shreyas Iyer, Shubman Gill, who will make the starting 11. So it's a deep batting lineup. Bowling is a question because I do believe that the stats of the bowlers around Bumrah are inflated because of the pressure Bumrah exerts at the other end. Like they all, and bowling is a lot more hunting in pairs and all than batting is. Yes, I know there's batting is partnership, but as I say, one bowler bowls to one batter. But with bowling, if you have really strong bowling at the other end, batters will try and take you on to release the pressure, break the shackles, and that brings about a wicket, right? So you often get a wicket due to the success of your bowling partner in creating
Or
that
even just the
pressure.
perception, right? Because they're like, oh,
Or just the perception.
oh,
Yeah, yeah,
Bumrah's
for
got
sure.
3 overs left, 4 overs left. I need to have a go now, otherwise
Exactly.
Bumrah's going to come from the other end,
Totally.
and then you start
Totally.
doing something
Totally.
stupid.
Totally, and
Yeah.
because you realize it's a 50, it's like a 40 over game rather than a 50 over game. So Bumrah's loss is significant, especially with fast bowling, right? I mean, with so now we know that it's probably going to be Ashdeep and Shami who will be the fast bowlers along with Hardik Pandya. So now that's going to be a bit of a question: can they lead that attack, right? How will that attack look without your premier, talismanic strike bowler? Spin is an advantage for India. I think Jadeja is really, he's like a Santner. Again, it's as they say, right? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts type player, right? He always adds that extra dimension, even with Santner. But I still believe that the spin has always looked better because you've always had the lurking threat of Bumrah. It's a question how that translates, right? Jadeja really strong. Axar Patel has, I mean, we've seen it before. He does sometimes get hit, right? Klaasen took him on. I can look back. Iftikhar has taken him on. A few others do tend to target him. And yeah, it's just how the bowling succeeds. And I do believe it's a bigger deal on flat wickets. The team that wins this tournament, yes, will be the team that has all bases covered. I said that at the start. But I do believe the bases are more pronounced in the bowling department just because the conditions are so suited to batters.
Yeah. I think India, they're pretty much, like you say, well equipped. I mean, not much you can say about the batting. I think it's pretty set where they're going to go with. I think top four is pretty much as is. Rahul, Pandya, Akshar, they'll probably switch them around depending on what the situation is. Um, and I think they look pretty strong, and maybe we can use this as an opportunity to do a mini preview of the 23rd of Feb, the big India Pakistan game. And if you just take my word for it, and I'm sure some watching might agree or disagree, but in recent times, okay, yes, there was Ahmedabad, and obviously that was that donking and stuff. But I don't feel the gap has been so wide going into a match between the two as it is going to be, I think, in this game. Maybe the 2017 game, if you look at it on paper in hindsight, the first match, I mean, the result obviously makes it even worse. But if you look at how bad Pakistan's bowling is and how good India's batting is, like if India, it's a semi-flat deck in Dubai. India can smash 450 or beyond, and then there's no way Pakistan's coming back. So I think
Oh,
that is,
completely agree. And also in ODI
yeah,
cricket, right? I mean, the gap looks much greater the longer the format, right? I mean, in T20
yeah,
cricket, anything can happen. In ODI cricket, I mean, um, uh, I'd say the gap was really significant, even in the Asia Cup that we played against them in 2018. I remember that
yeah,
being extremely significant. But this has been the most it's ever been,
yeah.
even
And we
more
haven't
than.
beaten them since the 2017 final, right? In ODIs. Well, we played
No,
like
we
four or
have.
five times, but
No, we haven't. And I mean, we had that horrid game, the 2 day game. I don't want to talk about that today. The game that changed all our fortunes. It's the game, we will look
yeah,
back on that game as when the black magic really found its way into Pakistan. But suddenly all the cracks
yeah,
opened at the same time, right? That's the problem. Look,
yeah,
yeah, we've never beaten them since 2017. I think that's a big, like clear warning sign if you're a Pakistani. Um, uh, you know, the 23 ODI World Cup, when in the lead up, it wasn't that wide a gap. Both teams won 2 out of 2. Pakistan had an easier two fixtures, but they did a really good. I think they chased really well against Sri Lanka, so they were
yeah,
running high of that. And we thought, and Pakistan had already come in as like I think the top ranked team. I know why we found out is because we put the pieces together. It was due to us facing
yeah,
low quality opposition, but at the time, people thought, okay, these are two potential finalists. So this, like, I mean, I would hate to be a pundit or a panelist who has to like big up this game because really, even if you look at matchups, I see no matchup where Pakistan can just claim to have the upper hand. I mean, not a
yeah,
single one. Maybe Fakhar Zaman versus Shami, but I can so imagine Shami or Arshdeep easily just dismissing Fakhar Zaman, just like New Zealand did in the last game, right? I mean, it's a high risk, high reward. But other than that, I
yeah.
see no way out.
Yeah. And especially because Pakistan's study is so dependent on Fakhar Zaman, right? If he's out, it's like back in the
Exactly.
day when there was a Afridi, right? Maybe not the same quantum, but
Exactly.
yeah, if he flops, say your whole like template collapses, right? And you go from 350 to 245 or whatever, right? And then that completely
Exactly.
changes the dynamics of the game.
Yeah,
Whereas for India, if Sharma does, yeah,
the only good side with Tayyip Tahir I thought was pretty enterprising.
yeah,
Look at how low our expectations are that a 30 is now considered a really good
yeah,
performance. But I did. Now, the way
yeah,
he got out goes back to what we were saying last week. He does tend to, his balance tends to be a bit off sometimes. That shot he got out on,
yeah,
his head was like falling all over. He
yeah,
wasn't balanced at all, which is why he couldn't get it over the top. But he clearly has something. I think he has some good shots. So I'm happy that at least we found some sort of certainty. Now that 30 is good enough for the tournament. I guarantee you. That's how.
yeah,
And I hope Kamran Ghulam plays. I hope Kushtil Shah, people have realized he didn't hit a single boundary side. And then when he got caught on, he was like this. He was like, "Kya kar diya maine?"
yeah,
What did I do?
exactly.
And I'm like, "What do you mean? What did you do? You did what you were supposed to do." He said, "Oh," he was in shock, and I just, I don't know, Zahid.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
and yeah, with Babar even opening, our only hope is we win the toss, we bowl first, we get a few early wickets, and then we chase. But if we're batting
yeah,
first, I even if we magically score 300, I can imagine Shaheen Afridi and Naseem Shah racing down, and the ball just flying all around the ground. Um,
yeah. No, not. So I guess from this side, it's pretty clear. I guess we've got New Zealand and India quite ahead of Pakistan, unfortunately. The other group I think is probably more interesting. You've obviously got a weakened Australia, a wounded England, South Africa. Obviously, they did lose both their games in the Tri Series, but it wasn't their strongest team. And of course, Afghanistan, who, despite their loss to Pakistan's C team, not that it really matters, still are. I think that they'll be quite up there. So that is the real group of death, so to speak. Especially given Australia's weakened team. But yeah, I think that from a neutral's point of view, that's probably the more interesting one, despite the mouth-watering India-Pakistan clash in the other, well, so-called mouth-watering clash in the other
So
group.
pro. Yeah, look, I mean, look, that's a very interesting one. I've seen the commentators and pundits and even like others, other podcasters have really wild predictions, right? I mean, on this one,
Yeah.
they're never the same. I'll give you my 2 cents, right? I don't see Australia making it. Australia have struggled in the last couple of since winning the Champions Trophy twice in succession. Before that and after that, they've struggled, right? And the reason is they don't prioritize it that much. It's quite clear, right? Stark, for example, withdrawing. And two, I mean, let's face it, they're playing in alien conditions, right? So weakened team playing in conditions that aren't suited to them. I know they're always a threat because Australia are Australia, but I don't see it happening. For me, I think South Africa looks strong. Forget about this tri series, right? I mean, they're a really strong team on paper with Klaassen and Miller and Rabada all playing. I know we swept them aside 3-0 at in their backyard, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. We do better in South African conditions than we do in our own conditions, and I think it's the other way around for them. Flat tracks, I mean, Klaassen and Miller and Markram are just going to lick their lips. So I see them being very strong. England, don't count them out. I've always backed England in tournaments, and and in recent past, barring the ODI World Cup in 23, they've been very successful, at least in reaching
Especially in
semi-finals. And
Pakistan.
sorry,
Especially in Pakistan.
especially in Pakistan. I mean, they've done really. They love batting in Pakistan. I mean, and why wouldn't you love batting? The thing with England is they're very good on flat tracks. The minute the batting gets going, you have got to remember that their whole sort of mantra of cricket is predicated on having everyone peaking at the right time, having the best talent, all in their prime, all peaking in form at the same time. That was the case in 2019, right? And we always scolded. It was once in a lifetime crop of talent where they're all in their prime. Now we have an England team that isn't quite as straightforward. A few players are on decline, etc. But in these circumstances, you want the conditions to help you. And here you've got a flat track, right? So when you've got a flat track, like completely lifeless, I think that's when England really back themselves because it's all about confidence with them. The minute they back themselves, they will go after it. The minute they find themselves in a rut, it'll feel as if they can't even get any bat on ball. In India, they have a rut. In other places, they've got a rut because whether it's the expectation of spin or seam, whatever it is. But in Pakistan, they will back their skills, and they've got a lot of skills still left in the tank, especially with the bat. They really do. I mean, I would kill to have a Butler in Pakistan, or I would kill to have Best or a few others, Phil Salt, all these players. I mean, that's phenomenal players in their own right. So the skill is there and they will back themselves on these wickets. So I do think England will be a force to be reckoned with. Afghanistan, my only worry is people will start asking questions. See, remember, forget the T20 World Cup, right? You have to think ODIs
Okay.
upsets are less likely. I know it's unfair to call it an upset, but again, having all your bases covered, you can't rely on like two excellent spinners and one really good batter and then see it through and everyone rallies around them. It doesn't work like that in ODI cricket. How good is their pace bowling? How good is their bench strength? How good are their, is their middle order? These are questions. If you think about the ODI World Cup in 23, yes, they did really well, but I am still not fully convinced that they're going to make it because they weren't very convincing against Pakistan Shaheens. I mean, if you are a team that makes Shadab Khan look like, oh my God, why was he dropped from Pakistan? Why was he ever dropped from Pakistan? Then you clearly got problems. Okay, so I think Afghanistan won't say that. For me, it's England and South Africa that will come out from that tournament. But I predict, and unfortunately, because I obviously want the final to be in Pakistan, so logistic reasons there. But I think it'll be an India-New Zealand final in Dubai. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely one on paper. Though I wouldn't rule South Africa out. Maybe
Yeah, I
another
won't rule South
repeat of
Africa.
India
Quite
South
right. Yeah,
Africa, where South
yeah.
Africa will obviously not win because that's what they do. But
But no, but I think that it could end up being, yeah, it'll be a New Zealand. Oh, I see, because South Africa made top group. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, it could be a South Africa India semi final, right? that will be
Yeah, I
really
mean, all
interesting.
yeah, I mean that just depends on yeah. I mean that's but yeah, I do see South Africa and yeah, why is yeah, like you said, I don't know. I think part of the reason issue that they also have is I don't know. I don't follow them that closely, but I don't think they've played a lot of good quality opposition in recent
Yeah,
times,
very
right?
right, very right,
And that's not their fault,
very
but
right.
that's just how it is. And going into a tournament, you need to have that. And I know T20, they did well. They did well in 23 as well. But I think T20, obviously, they can all come together and do stuff and whatever. But
Yeah,
and a lot of the players have just been playing different leagues all around the world. And, so I don't know how will that all come together. Maybe it might click. It's just a short tournament, but that's my only issue with them as well.
and they don't
I
play
know a lot of
Test
people have
cricket.
them in, yeah, true, true.
But
A lot of people have
I've
them
said
in
this
their top
before.
four.
ODI cricket, you need to have the skills that to do well
Yeah,
in Test cricket. You need to do the basics right because it could be any time that you'll be 20 for 3 and you'll need to bat like 35, 40 overs, right? And you need to like go back to old fashioned. And I know I feel for them sometimes there's a bit of political reasons why teams don't want to play them in Test cricket, rightly or wrongly, but they don't play good quality cricket. That's the long and short of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I still, despite Australia's weakened team, I still won't. Although they got tonked by Sri Lanka, but very different conditions. I think they won't get that spin-friendly conditions in Pakistan. So I do think Australia have an outside chance as well. So I feel more than an outside chance. I'll go Australia and South Africa from this group,
Fair enough. I
and
think
India,
that's
New Zealand. And for completeness, I mean, the easy answer is obviously India are hot favorites. Like I think I've predicted them to win the last three tournaments. Now we've done this, but it's hard to look past them, to be honest. So
I
yeah,
don't
for
know.
me, I'll probably
Bumrah
go
not
go the
playing.
same way.
For me, I think New Zealand have a good shot. You know that batting, like I'm like, why didn't I ever think of their batting as like really strong? When I look at that batting, I'm like, whoa. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
even without Rachin Ravindra, whether or not he plays, I don't know. But it's like Daryl Mitchell has to be one of the most underrated players. Like it was Fab Five, Babar Azam is part of Fab Five. Daryl Mitchell is far better than Babar Azam. Okay, I don't care how good your cover drive is. Daryl Mitchell takes a game by the scruff of the neck. He sort of reminds me a bit of Inzamam, but probably a better version. But like he would take the game by the scruff of the neck, and he will just bail New Zealand out of any trouble or any situation that they find themselves in, right? I mean, he is such an underrated player. I can't go on about it. Now, you will
yeah,
remind me that players, we as Pakistanis, very loyal to our opposition, tend to make everybody look like superstars and like great players. I mean, we make Zach Crawley look like the greatest debutant to ever come from England, and then Andrew Simons, we catapulted his career, I'm surprised he didn't name one of his kids after one of our players. But you know what I mean? Like, we do this. We do this. Um, but look, obviously, I'm wearing green today. So I hope I'm wrong in some cases. I hope Pakistan does get their act together. I'm not going to go into this Kudrat ka Nizam or this, in 2017 also Trump was the president of the USA or all that rubbish. I've heard that from people, but I'm not even going to say that, we do best when we start badly. I mean, please, like, I just need us to just come out of this. Okay. We get lucky once or twice and we think that's our way of route to success. When I'm hoping that a light bulb flickers somewhere and they get the batting order right. I still don't think it'll be enough because, as I mentioned, I think the issue is more with the bowling than the batting. There'll be a marginal improvement maybe with Kamran Balamin in place of Kushtil Shah, but the bowling is just so weak. It's pace bowling and spin. It's as
yeah.
if nobody has anywhere to hide. You know, so that's for me is the bigger worry, and I just don't have an answer for it. I just don't think we have our bases covered. The all rounders are weak, but maybe in Karachi something special may happen. And if that first result goes in Pakistan's favor, the tournament can look very different. But I
Yeah.
fear that I think we know where it's going to head towards.
But yeah,
But let's see.
just a token mention as well for Bangladesh. I guess they're also in the tournament.
Then,
um,
I mean, yes. We're laughing, but they
But
could so easily do Pakistan, and we'd be like, all
yeah,
right,
they could. I mean, they won the Test series, right? So,
exactly, exactly.
yeah,
And now look, I don't know for those who watch the India Pakistan Netflix documentary, like Shoaib Akhtar was complaining about how wickets in Pakistan don't favor bowlers, and there's a big structural reason. Captains are more often batters than bowlers and the rest of it. But so yes, there is a long term point here on whether we should rethink how we do our pitches. But and especially in tournaments like these where we need our fast bowlers to come good. But honestly, we tried that against Bangladesh in the Test series, and you saw what, right?
yeah,
I mean, they could so easily have brought Sajid and Noman Ali, and I honestly would have liked at least one of them playing
yeah,
in the squad as a
absolutely.
reserve, not reserve, but I mean within the on the bench basically in the squad, just to keep Abrar Ahmed's place honest, right? Because whoever you choose, they also have a bit of skill with the bat as well, because I see this tail as
Yeah,
a little longer than I'd like it to be. Shaheen Afridi, please, is not an all rounder. I think he should be demoted. Naseem Shah should bat ahead of him. I really think Naseem Shah should bat. I think Shaheen Shah Afridi should be taught a lesson. I mean, what on earth are you trying to do going down the track and smacking your second or third ball? I mean, what are you trying to do? And who was the bowler? Remind me, Glenn Phillips. Was it Glenn Phillips? It was Glenn
yeah.
Phillips.
Philip? No,
It was
It
Glenn.
was Santner, I think. Yeah,
Was it Sand? Okay, it was Sand. Okay, but what, even more reason. Even who are you? And then he comes out. He goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, oh, I tried my luck." No, you didn't. You've got Fahim Ashraf, very fine all rounder with a high score of 28 and an average of 9. Whatever you think of him, Rana. I mean, you can throw his bowling average and get more comfort there. But whatever it is, you've got an accomplished batter at the other end. You have one role, one job, and you still can't do that. And to think that we made him captain, it's baffling. So I do think our tail is long. Naseem Shah, the
yeah,
minute you promote him above Shaheen, he'll do the same thing, even though I think he's not that
yeah,
bad. But Noman Ali, maybe out of the two, Noman Ali, because of, I guess, the left arm angle,
yeah.
I would have liked him to be in the squad on the bench.
Oh well, it is what it is.
It
Government
is
do
what
with
it is.
what
What
they
can we
have.
say? Yeah, what can we say? What can we say? We do the classic Pakistan thing of just reminiscing on all the players who aren't playing. You
Yeah.
know, there we go. Look, there lots of exciting cricket to come. Obviously, you will be going live for the India-Pakistan game, so you'll be
I will
reporting
indeed.
live. Look, I hope for your sake there is a match and a proper match. But look, whoever it is, let's hope that this tournament goes off successfully. Just take a moment to say this is the first time Pakistan are hosting a tournament since 1996. It's been a long time coming. Wherever you stand on these political sort of topics, I think we can all agree that as a nation, Pakistan love their cricket. Please don't go by the attendance in Karachi. Forget about that for a second. But generally, I think the hope is that cricket has finally come home, and the tournament is played in a great spirit, and and it's a very smooth, seamless state of affairs, and most importantly, that everybody realizes that Pakistan now is fit to host tournaments, right? I mean, I was speaking to some family in Pakistan. I think there is more genuine excitement than there is in a bilateral series, right? I mean, you've got what, 7 teams in one country in Pakistan after. In fact, I think even in '96 we were also just one of the two hosts, so
Yeah.
we very seldom had as many as 7 teams in the country at the same time. So, look, that's a big moment, right? And whether or not Pakistan do well or not, I think that's not take away from the fact that this is a big monumental moment in Pakistan's cricket history. So, on that positive note, Zahid, thank you.
Thank you.